welcome back to my channel. I feel like every time I say that intro, it's very much giving more and more deranged every time I introduce myself. But how are you guys doing? How second week of the new year? How's that going? I'm so sorry, you guys. Like, I just feel like because like all the bread in Kenya still has Merry Christmas wrapping, it's very hard for me to just ignore that. And plus, I feel like me in my house, you guys, my mom tells people like Merry Christmas and Happy New Year until like August, you guys. This lady will call someone and be like, hey, yeah, Happy New Year, hey. And I'm like, why? Like, why? And I don't know, she's just given me that habit. So, till August, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Anyway, before we start, I just have a few disclaimers that I want to put out there. Number one is that I mean absolutely no disrespect to anybody that I talk about in this video. Secondly, anything that I say in this video, I will link it in the source list down below. You can go and find it down there. You can go and read through those articles if you want to know more about the case. And the third thing that I wanted to say is that you might be able to hear cars passing in the background. I finally have a mic. I keep saying I finally have a mic, but do actually if this mic just wants to give up on me every other week. If I could buy another mic, I would. But you know what? It's January. Maybe in August. Yeah. But anywho, I just wanted to say, if you hear any cars passing, please don't. It's not gonna ever be too noisy because I always repeat myself if the noise was too much, but don't worry about that. Those are my 3 disclaimers, and without further ado, let's jump right into this video. So today we're going to be talking about a woman by the name of Caroline Kangogo. Now, Caroline got herself into a lot of a mess when she decided to go on ahead and kill her 2 lovers only hours from each other. So that is what we're going to be discussing today. Let us get straight into this video. I also wanted to say that today's case actually involves themes of suicide. You know, I don't want to say it because I don't want the algorithm on YouTube to be catching me, you know what I mean? But if you're not comfortable with that topic, that and self-harm, please do not tune into today's video. Please feel free to exit at this moment. So who was Caroline Kangogo? Caroline Kangogo was born in 1984 to parents Barnabas and Leah Kangogo in Nyawa Tambach Division in former Keio district. I don't know why I wanted to say Kericho, but it's Keio. It's not Kericho, it's Keio. My tongue just really wanted to go Kericho. Now, Keio district is actually better known as Elgeyo Marakwet County. So, yeah, you can look that up. You can Google it. I think you can be able to find the place with both its name. I'm not sure, but anywho. Now, it was unclear how many children Caroline's parents had, but what was clear was that Caroline was the firstborn in her family. Now, Caroline's father was a police officer, and from what I could tell, her mom was a stay-at-home mom. I wasn't sure because I didn't see any other like profession or anything, but I'm just assuming. I will put that up as a disclaimer. Now, Caroline seemingly had a very normal childhood. She attended Nyawa Primary School and later joined St. Francis Secondary School before moving to Alphonsus Mutei Girls Secondary School. She actually graduated from high school and she got a C- in her KCSE. Now, after graduating high school, Caroline really wanted to follow in her father's footsteps. Caroline wanted to join the police force and become a policeman, just like her daddy. So she joined the police service as a trainee at the Kenya Police College in Kajiado on the 15th of August 2008. And she stayed there up to the next year in 2009. Now, during her time there, she did also serve as a court orderly for some time. I'm guessing a court orderly is like those people who usually, like, you know, those police people who are usually in court. I'm guessing that's what that is. It would be the most sensible thing to assume that's what that is, but I didn't look that up. But anywho, Caroline actually excelled in Kajiado in terms of like her training. She got a first class in a shooting. Like, she was the best shooter. The ghetto. She was the best shooter. She knew what she was doing with the gun. You know what I mean? And not only did she get like the best shooting range certificate, like she was the best in the shooting range, she also really did luck out and she found her husband at the training camp. So she's here shooting, everything's going amazing, and then here now waltzes in the man who she was gonna love, the man who was gonna give it to her. And they fall in love. Love. How beautiful is it? Now the man who comes into Caroline's life and just shows her what love is, his name is Richard. And with time, Richard would actually rapidly rise in the ranks, but that's a story for another time. Now, when Richard and Caroline met, Richard was her senior in terms of years. Apparently, some people said that Richard was much older than Caroline, but I don't know too much about that, so I'm not going to assume. And furthermore, it had been assumed, according to some of the articles that I saw, that Richard was a senior to her in terms of rank. Anywho, as Richard is rising so rapidly through the ranks and he's now gotten to the top, he has his own division, etc., his relationship was actually doing quite well in the beginning. The two of them, Richard and Miss Caroline, would actually go on to have 2 children in the earlier stages of their relationship. The two had one boy who, by the time all of this is taking place, was aged 11, and one girl who was 8 years old when this case takes place. So although the two of them did have children, there was also reports that the relationship overall was not doing so well over the years. That yes, they did have like an amazing earlier time in their relationship, but as time went on, the two of them's relationship just began to crumble. So as things were progressing, it was alleged it said that Caroline really got tired of being in the relationship with Mr. Richard. She said she was tired of the relationship and she wanted out, honestly. But family members, obviously, they were able to, like, you know, convince Miss Mamas that no, you know, just stick it out, just try for the kids. I know that one is never for the kids. So people did manage to convince her for some time to stay in the marriage and not to leave her husband. But with time, Caroline just decided, like, I know what I want to do and I have the ability to do it. So she decided that she was done. Like, she was done with him. She was done with all this, done with him, done with anything required of her from her folks, and she left him. She decided she was gonna up and leave him. And when she decided to up and leave him, she decided that she was going to take care of her kids by herself, like of her own volition. Now, it's unclear when she does decide to up and leave Mr. Richard, but she finally does decide to leave Mr. Richard. And from what it seems, this was a decision that made her pretty happy. That's her relationship with Richard, but like I said, it's very unclear exactly when she decided to up and leave. So I will treat her marriage as a separate entity to her moving away, because I don't know if she moved away while she was still married or not, because there was a lot of unclarity as to when she decided to finally leave him, and is it that she left him then moved away, or she was away when this all happened. Anywho, now in 2015 is where we are at, which I believe is after she had already left her husband, but like I said, I'm unsure, I'm unclear. She now gets another job and she is actually relocated to Nakuru town. So Caroline now decides to relocate to Nakuru and she goes with her kids, and it doesn't seem like her man followed her there. So I'm assuming by this point the two of them have divorced and they've left each other alone. Anywho, Caroline is relocated to Nakuru Kaloleni police station. So Caroline quickly develops a reputation of, you know, being seen around with like men, etc. But you know, at first it wasn't like anything too deep. Like, obviously she's going to be seen around with men, like she would drink, you know, have some drinks with men in the pub and stuff, but it wasn't anything serious. Now, as time went by, people started noticing that Caroline had a little crush, a little boy toy, if you know what I'm saying, if you know what I mean. Caroline starts to have a little shindig, a little rendezvous, a little sexual interaction with a man at her police station called Mr. John Ogweno. The two of them actually worked together at the Nakuru police station for some time before they got into a relationship. Now, although they didn't like openly come out and say, hey, we're dating, the two of them, like, they were known around to be together. Like, everybody knew, yeah, those two, they're together. They're living la vida loca together. So Caroline and John quickly form a relationship, and honestly, Caroline and John are having the time of their lives. Caroline really does fall for John, but the problem is, what? John is stationed in Nakuru and has a family somewhere else. So basically, from what I understood, John had a wife and kids. So what was John? John allegedly was a cheater. Now, according to sources, John was much younger than her. John was actually 28 years old, as she was 34 years old when all of this is taking time. So she wasn't like so young. And the media really painted it like this man was basically a toddler. And this woman was like 77. And she was like this harsh sugar mommy. And she was like hardcore into trying to get like young men. But like, no, it was just... Come on, 28 and 34, 29, 30, 31, 32, 30, 34. Like, if it was the other way around, if she was the one who was 28 and John was, 34, nobody would have batted an eyelash. Everybody would have been like, oh, wow, true love's kiss. Like, but anywho, they really, really dragged her because of this. And this just added to her looking like an immoral woman because, like, everybody hates a cougar. You know what I mean? But, oh well. John and her relationship honestly seemed to go really, really well. But anyway, more about John. John actually graduated with a Bachelor of Commerce and was only at the police station he was just training. Like, he was doing training there for like about 6 months. And me, I'm confused. Like, what does a Bachelor in Commerce have to do with being a police? Like, what could he have been training for? You know what I mean? Like, I'm very lost as to what exactly John could have exactly been training for. But that's John's business, I guess. John and Caroline, whirlwind relationship, love each other, everything is going great, etc. But what John didn't know is that when he was busy cheating on his wife with Caroline, Caroline was cheating on him with another man. You see why I tell you don't trust people? Ooh, I'm so sorry for laughing. Allegedly cheating on his wife. Well, you think you're playing someone is playing you. Anywho's, so Caroline had an affair with somebody else. His name was Peter. So Caroline had 2 boyfriends. The first one being John. The second one being another guy called Peter Njiru Ndwiga, who was what you like to call an entrepreneur, a business owner. And anywho, Peter and Caroline were more in the same like age range. Peter was actually 32 years old, while Caroline, obviously she was older, being 34 was it? She was older, yes, but it was like in the same age range. Peter owned a security firm in Ruiru known as Superb Security Group, and Miss Ma'am was allegedly involved with the both of them. And according to what sources said, none of them knew that the both of them were involved with Miss Ma'am Caroline. So, period, to well out, she was playing the both of them. Now, it's alleged that of the 2 of them, Caroline really liked Mr. John much, much more than she liked Peter. She enjoyed Peter, don't get it wrong, but she really, really liked John much, much more. Caroline could honestly see a future for herself with John, and this was demonstrated through the fact that Caroline was like overly interested in John's kids. Like, when I say overly interested, I mean overly interested. Like, Caroline went the extra mile to go behind John's back and get John's wife's phone number. John's wife lives in Homa Bay. They're in Nakuru. She goes and she gets John's wife's phone number, and she approaches John's wife as like somebody who she approaches her as like, oh hey, I'm John's workmate, etc. And so for the longest time, John's wife didn't know that her man was out here doing the reckless. So John's wife would receive phone calls from Caroline, and she'd be like, oh okay, I guess, like, okay. And they would talk about John and how John's doing and how the kids are doing, and how Caroline would tell her, like, I'm going to force him to come and see the kids this weekend. And this Miss Girl is like, why would you force him? Like, aren't these his kids, or did I miss something? Like, girl, what? So Caroline's wife was a bit like taken aback, confused, but she just assumed that, oh well, Caroline maybe just wanted to chat with me, like maybe Caroline she just wants to be friends. But with time, Miss Ma'am did actually catch on to the fact that maybe this is his side girl, and maybe she's just trying to like learn information about my kids so that when she decides to take over my place as their mother, she has more ammunition to come with. Anywho's, I just wanted to add that John actually had 2 wives, and during the time that this case was ongoing, nobody knew that he had 2 wives. But after everything had happened, it was discovered that he had 2 wives, and the 2 wives actually didn't even know about each other. They actually met at the burial. So it's like one person is coming there, and it's just like, whoa, who are you? but one had kids and the other one didn't have kids. So I'm not I think I'm discussing the one who had kids. Yeah. So moral of the story, Miss Caroline was overly invested. Let's just say very overly invested when it came to his kids, when it came to his wife, when it came to him in general. She wanted to know everything about John. She wanted to be involved in every integral part of John's life. Caroline's love for John made what happened on the 5th of July 2021 even more surprising, because nobody expected it. I'm even sure John never expected it. So what happened on the 5th of July 2021? A police officer coming from Kasarani police station arrived around 7 a.m. When he got to work at 8:40 a.m., he then saw a car parked in the compound, and he was like, oh, whose car is that? So Mr. Man goes on to check out whose car exactly this is. When he went there, he then saw the dead body of a police officer inside this car. He obviously gets in to try and check exactly who this man was, and it was nobody other than Mr. John Ogweno himself. Now, the police officer obviously further investigated, only to find that he was bleeding, accruing from a wound from being shot. So the police officer that found Mr. John actually calls an investigator so that they can be able to tell exactly what happened here, exactly what transpired here today to leave this man in the position that he is. So the first thing they obviously did to be able to do this is investigate the car. They checked the car to find out, is there like any receipts? Is there anything that could tell us where Mr. John Ogweno had been the previous night before? And they did find something. The first thing they found that was suspicious was that Mr. John Ogweno's gun that he had been issued by the police station wasn't with him. That means somebody took it. The second thing that they found was the phone of Miss Caroline in Mr. John Ogweno's car. Obviously, somebody can't go days and hours without their phone, which indicated that this must have been left there quite recently. So the police, knowing that the two of them were in a relationship, they decide to go on over to Miss Caroline's house to, number one, go and get a general feel of what exactly happened here. Where were you last night, and what were you guys doing together, and why is it your phone that's in his car? They decide to go over to Caroline's house to ask her this, but in addition to going over to Caroline's house to ask her this, they also wanted to ask her about the gun and check around her house. Now, although police did decide to go over to Caroline's house first, it wasn't because they genuinely believed that Caroline could have murdered John. Everybody knew that Caroline loved John, so it was very unlikely that she was this big, bad, reformed killer who would have turned on him just like that. The police honestly were just going there to ask Caroline a few questions and, just in hopes of getting the answers that they need to be able to solve this murder. First of all, they wanted to know if she had the gun. Maybe he left it there after he left her house because they knew they were lovers and they were doing it, child. Maybe he decided to leave and he left the gun or something. They just wanted to know exactly what was going on. What were y'all doing last night? Nobody really went there thinking of Caroline as a suspect. Now, Caroline is the one who did suspicious activity. Now, when they get to Caroline's house, Caroline wasn't there. So the police did let themselves in. And they searched through Caroline's house. Is that legal? I don't know if that's legal, child. They searched through Caroline's house and they found that Mr. John's clothes was there, which helped them establish the fact that there was an actual relationship. Because by this point, like I said, the two of them were in a relationship, but they weren't obviously going around announcing it because they worked together. Anywho's. They find John's clothes in the house, but they didn't find John's gun, they didn't find anything, and most importantly, they didn't find Caroline, who, like I said, wasn't even a suspect until they didn't find her, because they were just like, oh, the two of them probably just they probably met up last night. I don't think it's her. She's always they've always been fine. Why would she just turn on him? Nobody was really suspecting her until she pulled this stint where she wasn't in the house. Now, at first they thought, oh, maybe she's just not home. So they tried calling her and she wasn't picking up anybody's calls. And all this was happening on the 5th, them trying to call her, them trying to locate her, etc. But by Tuesday, the 6th of July, it became very, very clear Miss Caroline was actually in hiding. Caroline wasn't picking calls, like I said. And on top of that, Caroline didn't come home on the night of the 5th. So the police officers concluded that, yeah, maybe we may have given her too much leeway, and they decided that this is a person of interest in this case. So everybody is now looking for Caroline. Everybody is wondering where Caroline has gone, and more people are now starting to, believe that Caroline is the one who killed Mr. John, because she's not coming out to defend herself and she's nowhere to be seen, which is becoming more and more suspicious to everybody around. Now, as all of this is going on, the police would actually receive a call from the owner of Denmark's Kimbo Hotel all the way in Juja. Now, this was suspicious considering the fact that, all of this took place in where? In Juja, but these people are being called all the way in where? In Nakuru. However, this is going to be very clear as soon as you hear what I'm going to tell you. So, according to what this hotel owner said, a man by the name of Peter Njiru Ndwiga, aged 32, had booked a room at 4:22 p.m. on Monday in the company of a woman. So that's the day before, which is the 5th of July. The day which Mr. John was found dead. So that same day, in the afternoon of that same day, when all this investigation is still taking place, Peter, Miss Caroline's second boyfriend, is all the way in Juja booking a hotel room with an unnamed woman, with an unknown woman. Now, according to reports, the man and the woman that were seen checking in had actually gone out on a lunch date before they decided to check into this hotel. The two of them had spent the day together, and at the end of the day, it seemed that the man and the woman wanted to, they wanted to do what adults be doing. They wanted to do what adults be doing. So the two of them went on to the hotel and they booked a room together. This, like I said, is around like late afternoon that they're booking this room. So they had lunch in the early afternoon, then in the late afternoon they booked a room together in Juja. Now this hotel that they booked into actually had CCTV, so it didn't take long for people to be able to deduce that the woman who is said to have been checked in and who is said to have come in with the man was actually Miss Caroline Kangogo. Now, as soon as police found out that Peter had also died, who was Caroline's known second baby boo, they immediately jumped to the conclusion that, you know what, she may have been responsible for killing her first baby boo, Mr. John. And it was also further suspicious considering the fact that what was Caroline doing in Juja? What was she? Nobody knew that she left to go to Juja, and it was a very abrupt thing. Furthermore, why is it you are the consisting variable in the death of these two men? Anywho, police quickly assume and decide that she is the one who is responsible for the death of these two men, and they put out they now start to go on a media campaign to have Miss Caroline caught. Not only did the CCTV confirm that it was actually Caroline Kangogo who was seen with Mr. Peter, CCTV also caught her leaving the room leaving his room in a yellow jacket at midnight. Now, according to one attendant, they said that they actually met Caroline on their way, her way out, her grand escape. But the thing is, Miss Caroline told the attendant that, hey, I'll be right back, I'm just going to get some toothpaste and a toothbrush, don't worry, I'll be right back, don't worry, I'm not running away. And she also told him my boo is upstairs, so it's not like I'm trying to skip the bill or whatever, calm down. So the attendant was like, oh, okay, cool then. So anywho, Caroline actually was trying to run. She was running. Now this footage from the CCTV actually confirmed to police that this woman was on the run. How are you gonna leave at midnight? How you just gonna leave at midnight? Nothing warrants you to wake up in the middle of the night and leave. Why would you do that? So police are now convinced that Miss Girl is the killer. And let me tell you one thing. Police said, we're gonna catch you. Yeah, you're done. And they go on a manhunt for this lady, and I can't even call it a manhunt because it was basically a witch hunt. The reports that were going out were so crazy. The DCI issued a report declaring CPL Corporal Caroline Kangogo as being armed and lethal, and they said particularly men to be careful of her. So they painted her basically as a sexual predator, that she's her main prey is men. They didn't even think okay, maybe something happened between her and these two men. No. They immediately just concluded that, yeah, Miss Girl is a sexual predator, she has something against men, etc. And obviously one thing is getting men in the society all riled up about a woman. That never really ends well. People were in a frenzy. Sexual predator, going after men, armed and dangerous, and then reports came out about how good she is with the gun and everything, and people were like, oh, cha. were done for. And the DCI honestly kept on making it worse, because like they just kept on releasing very salacious information. They also said that she was on a killing spree and was luring men to hotels before murdering them. She did this to one man, and I understand, like, yes, his death honestly is very, 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 very important. I am not taking away from the fact that he died. Something terrible happened to him. It did. It really did. But I just don't see the solution in painting this woman as like someone with this unhealthy vendetta against men, because that's just instigating a lot of like tensions within society. Anywho, people in Nakuru are tense. People in Nakuru are panicked. Also, people in Juja are tense. People in like that area where Mr. Peter died, people are tense. But that was expected. Now, the unexpected thing that I really haven't heard in many of these Kenyan cases is the DCI actually took initiative to open like a toll-free helpline or something like that. Like, they put up like a toll-free line where you can call in with information regarding this case. They set up this helpline and people actually called in. People were calling in with information. Some people were saying they saw Caroline in, I don't know, Juja at this place. Some were saying they saw her in Nakuru. There were just so many reports going around about where Caroline could be. But the one thing that was constant even throughout these reports is that people viewed Caroline as being very armed and very dangerous. Now, another thing that the DCI did to try and get Caroline to come in, they didn't just rely only on like people's ability to, you know, locate her physically in the real world. They also went to Caroline's parents and they kind of like asked Caroline's parents to do like a public plea for her to come home. So Caroline's father, who, like I told you guys, was a previous police officer, went on TV and he was pleading with his daughter for her to come home. He was just like, baby girl, like come home, it'll be okay, we can talk it out, we can sort it out, etc. And just basically trying to convince Caroline to come back home. He was like, you know, basically what he said is, my daughter, you're a police officer who understands the law, and under such circumstances, you know why it is important for you to surrender. Wherever you are, please turn yourself in, and even turn yourself in at a nearby chief's station. Office, sorry. We all want to know what happened and avoid more bloodshed. Now, this report is, would you come home? I just want to know that. Like, I'm not even saying anything about it. Would you come home, like, if you hear that from your father? But Caroline didn't respond. Now, although Caroline wasn't responding to her parents or to police officers, Caroline actually was in contact with her brother. Now, her brother would ask Caroline, like, where are you? Are you okay? And he would tell her, like, I'm fine. Don't worry about me. Apparently, Caroline and her brother were very close. Like, they had a very good relationship. So it made sense that she was still in contact with her brother, irrespective of the fact that she was wanted by the police. Now, it's interesting to find this out, because now I'm just thinking, like, did she tell her brother where she went? Like, did she tell him? But it is clear that she didn't really say, like, this and this is where I am. But she just said, like, hey, don't worry about me, I'm okay. As all of this is going on, all this mass hysteria is mounting, the parents are doing the public pleas for her to come home. You obviously know somebody had to go and beat up the hornet's nest and make all those hornets even more upset. Now, Caroline's ex-husband, remember the first man we talked about, Richard? Yeah, Richard comes out and he just tells everybody how Caroline is just planning to kill him, and, like, you know, he's just so afraid for his life, etc. So, anywho, as soon as Mr. Richard says this, more hysteria. I don't even know if the hysteria could be more, but everybody now just wants Caroline to be caught. Everyone is tired. They're like, this woman is walking around here killing men. Do something about it. Now, Richard's accusations. Now, Richard saying that his wife was like planning to come after him, etc., was not the only thing that was like being said about Caroline, as you may have deduced. Like, reports painting her as like this immoral woman that like just deserves less in this life because she's just that dirty. Like, things were just coming out. A lot of things were coming out about Miss Caroline. Like, men were saying how like she was just always in the pub, and like how in fact she just kept a secret that she was actually a mother and had a family of her own. They were just painting her as this like loose, immoral woman, because, you know, like in Kenya, once you're a loose, immoral woman, what happens? Nobody cares about your case. Nobody wants to, like, everybody has damned you. Like, not even just in Kenya, everywhere, everyone has just damned you. Like, one man came out and just said, I think anyone who has gone to popular joints within the Nakuru CBD has come across her. She's social, though quick to anger. Like, you see, just like slanderous things to like slander who she is as a person. Of all the, is it so surprising that she's at the CBD? But you get what I mean. Like, it doesn't look good that, oh, she's even a woman that goes to the pub. You get what these people are trying to do. I don't have to like explain this to you guys. Anywho, now as everybody has a story to tell about Caroline, Caroline is still on the run, and she's obviously like, the more and more stuff is coming out about her, I bet you the less likely she is to go home, child. And the police are really tracking her cell phone, tracking her accounts, trying to see exactly where she is. But Caroline's phone was switched off. It was very difficult to see her. However, at a point, the police did note that Caroline actually withdrew 40,000 Kenyan shillings from a bank in Juja. The police suspected that this was supposed to be like money to help Caroline move around. But like, you guys, how expensive is Kenya? 40K for move around money. Eish, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. Now, remember when I said the police also had like a line where people would call in if they've seen her, etc. Yeah, the police actually did receive a few tips and tidbits that people had actually seen Caroline on that Tuesday night that she's alleged to have killed Mr. Peter. Now, they say that she was seen on Tuesday night boarding a motorbike, like a boda boda at Wendani. And according to police, she was actually making her way to Mathare slums. Like, this is based off of like the information police got about where she was dropped off, etc, etc. Now, you know that if somebody is going to hide out in Mathare, I don't know where you're going to find them. Utawapata wapi? It's like saying somebody is going to hide in Kibera. Like, where will you get them? Very hard to locate. Anywho, the police decide to wait for Caroline to come out of hiding, and they hope that somebody would actually make a phone call and let them know exactly where Caroline was hiding, but that didn't happen. And honestly, with time, police are now starting to get like they're starting to give up, because it's just like, man, all we want to do is catch this lady. Like, what's the problem? Like, can we catch this lady? However, on Friday the 16th of July in 2021, Miss Caroline actually decides to hand herself in. On Friday the 16th, she actually decides to go home to her parents. Now, Caroline's journey to her parents' house actually was seen by multiple people. Now, according to a Matatu driver, he says that Caroline actually entered his Matatu and didn't say anything to him. He didn't speak with Carol, but she was like hiding her face, and she was like shy, and like she was wearing a mask and a maroon scarf on her face to hide her identity. And according to him, he was like, this shawty must be a criminal. However, he didn't know that it could be Caroline specifically until she had left. Like, she noticed him noticing her, and she was like, okay, this guy might be onto me. So Caroline left the scene. Anywho, the Matatu driver quickly tried to call the police and everything, but by that time, Caroline had already vanished. Now, Caroline would find another mode of transport, and on the morning of Friday the 16th at 5 a.m., she would arrive at her parents' at her parents' home. Caroline would arrive, but none of her family members actually knew that she had come home, according to what they said. According to her family members, they didn't know, because how would you, also you, like, who is really awake at 5 a.m. on Friday? And the thing is, her dad is like not working as a cop anymore, so why exactly would he be awake? Tell me, you don't know. Anyway, Caroline would arrive at 5 a.m. and then she would make her way up to the upstairs bathroom before shooting herself with a gun. Now, like I said, it was unclear whether Caroline actually spoke with her family members before she decided to take her life. However, what was discovered from the scene of her death was a letter that Caroline had actually left behind. It kind of served as like an S note and also a will of sorts, like where she like said what she wanted to happen with her stuff, etc. And this note really explained why Caroline had been doing what she had been doing and why she had been up to what she had basically been up to. Now, I won't read the entirety of like the note here, because I feel like if you want to read that, please go and have a look at that by yourself. But I will say like the parts that regarding the murders of her two lovers. Now, she did give like explanations as to why she decided to kill her lovers. I'll start with her more general requests, and one of her most like important with regards to the execution of this note, or the execution of the things that she highlighted in this note, was that she wanted her brother to basically be the executor of her will. So the brother was the one who was supposed to handle everything that she had said. That was what she wanted. So secondly, she did highlight why she went on ahead to kill her two lovers, John and Peter. I'll start with why she decided to kill John. Now, with regards to John, this is what she wrote. She says, "For you, my love, John Ogweno, our love was made in heaven. That's why since Monday, a day after the incident, you always embrace me with love and forgiveness and tell me it is well despite our souls living in separate worlds. May our kids live in peace, love, forgiveness, success, and being God-fearing. Rest well and see you soon." So I'm lost as to the reason why she killed John, because from what it says and from what this reads, it kind of anticipates that she knew she was going to go on ahead and Peter, right? And from what this is telling us, it kind of seems like she had already decided that she was going to off Peter, and she didn't want to go into like the afterlife without the love of her life, John. So from what I'm deducing here, it kind of seems like she killed him so she can be able to have him in the afterlife. I don't know. Also, like something else that's kind of creepy is that she says after a day after the incident, so a day after her killing him, because she killed him on Monday, she says that he was still embracing her with love and forgiveness and telling her that it was well with his soul despite them living in separate worlds. Does that not sound weird to you? Like, she's kind of insinuating that the two of them were still in communication even after she killed him. That's a bit suspect. I don't know. Anyway, for Peter, the situation was very much so different. Miss Ma'am did not like Peter, and she didn't hide it, and she made it very clear that she didn't like Peter at all. Now, for Peter, she says she doesn't owe him an apology. She says, don't owe an apology. He allegedly conned me 1.5 million, whereby 300,000 I borrowed from my father's retirement benefits. Then he arrogantly tells me he isn't paying, and I even found him with a new Pro Box. So according to what she's saying in the note, her and Peter's relationship was soured by the fact that Peter was a scammer and Peter scammed her, and that's why she just felt that Peter had to go. Now, Miss Caroline actually said that if anybody wanted confirmation as to like the allegations she's making against Mr. Peter, they should go and ask like a specific named party. They didn't put like the party online, obviously, because that was going to like, you know, basically infringe on the privacy of that party. But she said like, yeah, you should go and ask for the receipts, the literal receipts and checks that I sent to this man from this specific party, and they'll let you know that I'm not lying and that that man was a thief. Now, with regards to her husband Richard and why they actually filed for divorce, because like I told you, it was unclear when they left, why they left. It was just said, oh, they had issues in the marriage, issues in the relationship. With regards to Richard, she says, depression is real. Please assist those you know. My divorce pushed me to be inhuman. My father disowned me due to a failed marriage. This is the same father who's out there saying my daughter come back. My father disowned me due to a failed marriage. My husband was allegedly firm in calling my father and my brother to cover up his mistakes, and they all fell into his trap. Since I met you, my husband, I have never known peace. It's due to your mistreatment. Always allegedly chasing after other women. You tortured me physically, mentally, and the likes of Peter Ndwiga. What? Where's Peter coming in? Since everything happened, please take good care of our kids and don't neglect them. As your first wife, please don't take advantage of love. Current divorce. From Tuesday, I was in Mombasa and always saw you being picked and dropped. I wanted to kill you, but I sympathized with my kids. I forgave you. I hope you do the same. So Richard wasn't lying. Shame. This man actually she lit on Tuesday. So she kills John on Monday and leaves Nakuru that same Monday, goes to Juja, kills Peter, leaves Juja that same Tuesday, and goes to Mombasa. Her addresses to her husband Richard also involved her telling him that he wasn't going to get anything from her death, because she said like he really did her dirty and she didn't want anything to do with him. She didn't want him to benefit in any shape or form from her death. Anywho, after everything, she made some last requests with regards to how she wanted to be buried. First of all, she said she doesn't want to be buried, that she wants to actually be cremated, and she didn't want to be like put in the ground. Second of all, she also asked that they buy her a wedding dress and put her in the wedding dress for her burial day, like before she obviously gets cremated. She says, "To my people, it's my wedding day. Dress me in a white gown that my husband could not afford." Damn. Her parents, in fact, did not bury her in a white dress, and neither did they to respect her wish of like being cremated. Lastly, although this seemed like a pretty like cut and dry case of her actually committing these murders, she was in the locations, etc., etc., it was alleged by multiple people, or like it was suspected by multiple people that she actually didn't do this to herself. Like, she didn't kill herself, because many people are like, why would she go on all that effort, like on all that run, and then just kill herself in the end? Like, it doesn't make sense. So here are some of the speculations that were actually made with regards to the death of Caroline Kangogo. People suspected that she actually knew a lot with regards to police activity. Remember how I said during the time that people were discrediting her as like a moral woman? They were trying to paint her as an immoral woman. They said like she was always out at the pubs, she was like one of the bros, one of the guys, like she was like your guys, like your guy friends, like she was like a friend to the guys, you get what I mean? She was in the police department, and the fact that nobody even snitched her with regards to her relationship with Mr. Peter or anything, or Mr. John, or with Mr. John, people really suspected that she was like in with the cool crowd, with the cool kids, with regards to the police station. So many people felt that, okay, maybe she found out something about the police station, or she knew about some illegal activities, etc., that she was now going to, like, she couldn't be let go. So they decided to actually kill her and frame it and like make it look like a suicide. But the question still remains, like, okay, but she definitely did commit the murders against her lovers, right? Right. So it's like, okay, even if they did like get her in terms of like, you know, killing her herself, why then did she kill her lovers? Did they kill her lovers? But then that would not make any sense, would it? And there was also CCTV footage of her actually leaving the room with Peter. Like the room that Peter and her entered, there was footage of her entering and footage of her leaving. So it is clear that she was the last person to be with Peter. Anywho, guys, tell me what you think about this case down below. Do you think it was actually the police that got to her? Anyway, my voice is so tired and I'm really hungry. So I will see you guys in my next one.